So, greetings from India, Namaste. You know what it signifies, right? Bring the minds and hearts together. So, let me start with a beautiful little sloka from the Vedas, which have been chanted since maybe 1,000 years before the beginning of an interaction. Well, maybe a spiritual interaction, which we can call Satsang. Satsang, you know, Sat means the truth, and Sangha means a group of people intent on finding the truth. So when you say Satsanga, that's what it means. A group of people like you and me trying to figure out, is there something other than the ordinary life? Is there something which is what they call Sat, as opposed to Asat, which is that which looks like it's real but may not be. You can suspend your judgment, you don't have to conclude. Because the whole Upanishadic teaching is not to conclude till you reach the goal, but to interact, figure out, have a dialogue, a samvad. Even the Gita is called a samvad, although Krishna speaks most of the time. So, I'm going to chant this. It goes like this. First we'll do it in Sanskrit also because I like the sound of the language and I am sure you also love it. Sahana bhavatu, sahana bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvina vaditamastu, ma vidvishavahai. This is chanted. I know many of you know because it's been chanted, but can we just look into what it means carefully, because it's important to today's subject. I have been asked to speak on, of course I approved it, but I have been asked to speak on happiness according to Vedanta, yes. And since in my entire life I don't carry notes, except in the House of Lords because I was intimidated going there. One time in my life when I carried some notes because I didn't know what's going to happen. So I've discarded it now. Back to square one. So just please listen to this carefully. It means a lot in understanding what Vedanta is. Sahana bhavatu, saha nau bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai. Do you notice that there is one word, or one syllable, which occurs in all three lines? And what is that word? Saha. I'm asking you because it's supposed to be a workshop. It shouldn't just be that I have just rolled up my sleeves and taken off my coat. Workshop doesn't end there, so we need an interaction. This is why I'm asking you. So, Saha is the word. Now, Saha means, in Kerala where I come from, the Communist Party members call themselves Sahav, comrade. Well, I'm not a communist, so Saha means to come together, you and I. If you and I are not in the picture, then there is no meaning for the word Saha. So, Sahana bhavatu, may you and I, I'm deliberately using you before I. May you and I, because the I is the biggest problem usually, not this I, but this I also sometimes. So, Sahana bhavatu, may both of us, you and I, be protected. Protected from what? Protected in the sense that for any inquiry, especially serious inquiry, you need to have some kind of a safety and security. Some protection is required. Now we are sitting here protected from the wind, protected from the rain. We are sitting here so that we can, without worrying about nature, concentrate on what we are doing. That's one kind of protection. The other is protect, may my mind be protected, may our minds be protected from being distracted, from running away into unessential things, from going away from the subject on hand. So, and when the ancient Shastras said it is the duty of the Kshatriya to protect, it meant protect from physical as well as protect from mental distractions and problems. But it has to happen to you and to me. It can't happen only to you and not to me, and only to me and not to you. I'm keeping on stressing this because one of the things about the Upanishads, which are the fountainhead of Vedanta, we'll come to that in a minute, is dialogue, discussion, understanding. Nobody says, put your brain in the refrigerator. So, Sahana Bhavatu, may you and I be protected. Clear, almost clear. Sahanao Bhunaktu, may you and I be nourished. Now when you say nourished, it means first basically physical nourishment. You can't teach Vedanta to an empty stomach. Swami Vivekananda was asked, can we go into the villages and teach them Vedanta? He said, for just a minute, they don't have food. Find out how you can feed them first. And then if you really want to open their minds, keep your Vedanta aside for some time. Take maps, take microscopes, take telescopes, teach them how to learn, how to expand their minds first. We here have done all that, so we can go the next step. But what for the poor guy? So nourishment means nourishment, first physical, and then to nourish the mind from being distracted, from wasting its energies in useless pursuits, from unnecessarily creating violence, and not only creating harm to others, but also dissipating your own energies. There was a great saint in India, in the south of India, called Basaveshwara, who founded an order which is now called the, what are they called? They have many mathas in Karnataka. Shaivite, Lingayats, founded the Lingayats. Of course, as usual, it has also become now segregated. This is what happens when truth gets too organized. So Basaveshwara, when he written very simple advice for sadhaks, for seekers, they are called vachanas. And one of them says, when you get angry, if you are angry, you actually don't cause harm to anybody else. You are burning down your own house. Understand? So you understand how it's connected to nourishment, so that we may be nourished without wasting our energy. So nourishment also includes, it's a wide concept. The Vedas and the Upanishads were not talking about any one single thing. Nourishment also includes environmental consciousness. How do we nourish ourselves with fumes in our noses all the time? You can't. So nourishment is how to lead a life where you can keep your body and mind nourished and not dissipated. So sahano bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai. If we live this way, then our virya, virility, will increase. You see, this is a very serious matter that we are looking into. And a person who has spent all his energies or her energies and wasted time and life can't have enough energy to look into this. You need really energy. Virility is required. When I say virility, it means the energy to move. Once the fuel is over, how far can the car go? So before the fuel is over, you start your work. So, then, Tejasvina vaditamastu, may the spiritual light increase in you and me, tejas, illumined. May we shine forth after understanding. Then the last one is very important. Ma vidvishavai, let's not fight with each other. So here, we need to, it's not just physical fight, we need to make a distinction between a dialogue, a discussion, and an argument. You know what an argument is? I think I'm right. You think you're right. You're trying to prove your point. I'm trying to prove. This is an argument. It reaches nowhere. So a dialogue or a discussion is when you and I say, okay, here is the problem. Let's set aside our prejudices and look into it carefully. This is a dialogue. This is a discussion. It's not a quarrel between you and me. Ma vidvishavai, let's not fight with each other. So this is the beginning of it's a sloka that is chanted usually before all learning experiences, before we have satsangs and so on. You must have heard it in India several times. I'm saying that since Sanskrit is being revived now, of course, but for a long time being considered a dead language, while it's a language which is so alive, there is not a single noun in Sanskrit which is not formed of a verb. And a verb is a word of action. How could anyone call it a dead language? Because Westernization, while it has its plus points, kind of neglected this language. It's time we look into this carefully, not as a denominational or religious language, but as a language per se. There are even computer terms in Sanskrit. It's a beautiful language. Anyway, since we are in this way, I had to translate this sloka, which you might have heard many times before. Okay. Now to the subject matter, since we are not going to fight with each other. The subject matter of today, which is happiness according to Vedanta. Now let me explain first Vedanta, then happiness, and try to bring them together. Vedanta, the word means Veda Anta, end of the Vedas. What does that mean? The wisdom portion of the Vedic teachings, the distilled wisdom of the Vedic teachings, are to be found in a body of literature called the Upanishad. And these Upanishads come at the end of the Vedas, in the sense that first comes the Samhita portion, the hymns, then come the Brahmana portion, the rituals, then come the Aranyakas, which are the thoughts of the Rishis who went into the forest. Aranya is a forest, which doesn't mean that we have to go into forest to understand this, which means that in the middle of a forest of concrete structures, it's good to set apart some places where there are only trees mostly and not buildings. And all big universities are built that way. Why do universities need space? Why do they need trees and plants and greenery? Because that's what induces one to think, not structures. In fact, when you're trying to destructure your mind, structures can even psychologically act in a contrary way. So, Aranyakas are the deep thoughts that were learnt in the forest academies, let's put it that way. And if you read the Aranyakas, you see slowly the Aranyakas go into what is called Upanishad. It's a very gradual merging of the two. So the Upanishads are the essence of the teachings of the Vedas. They examine the statements of the Vedas like Tattvamasi, you are that. Ayam Atma Brahma, my Atman is Brahman. Prajnanam Brahma, my the supreme reality is effulgent, and so on. Now these are just sentences, so what does they mean? How do we look into it? The Upanishads deal with this subject. In fact, the word Upanishad, if you can analyze it, it gives you the essence of what Vedanta is. Upa means to move close. When I say close, not C-L-O-S-E, close, not shut, but nearness, N-E-A-R, near, close. So Upa means near. So these were truths which were taught by the Rishi and the student sitting close to each other. In fact, there were no microphones and loudspeakers also. So it was an intimate exchange of wisdom between the two, and very intimate. In fact, it's so intimate that it was at one time referred to as the Rahasya, the secret, because it is the essence of the Vedas. This is the Upanishad. So Upa. And Shad means, there are many meanings in Sanskrit. One important meaning, Shad, is to sit. And you're all sitting down, which means you're ready to listen. When you stand up, I'm standing up, of course. Traditionally, people sit down cross-legged. We have to adapt to modern world. So, when you stand up, I know that one of you is not interested. You're going out. So, sit means you have settled down to listen. Shat. It also means that the mind has to settle down. You can be sitting here, but your mind can be at home, on Bond Street, or anywhere. So if we can sit here and also allow the mind to sit down, this settlement is called Shat. Now Adi Shankara, one of the foremost commentators on Vedanta, he also had another meaning for Shat. He said Shat also means churning up, shaking up. Shaking one up from the usual concepts which we hold dear to our hearts and would refuse to budge from them. Shaking up. The mind has to be shaken up. In fact, the Gita refers to this shaking up as the upside down tree. Urdhvamoolamata. Usually a tree's roots are here and the branches up. The Gita says there is a tree whose branches are up and whose roots are up and the branches down below. What does it mean? It's a symbolic, metaphoric expression that you have to stand your ordinary thinking on its head to move forward. So Shad also means shaking up. Please, nowhere in the Upanishad is any mention of a cult or a dependent on a cult figure. Please understand this clearly. Use your mind and figure out. So, Upanishad. Now there is Ni in the middle, the Ni sound. The Ni indicates the position of the teacher to the taught. The Hindi word niche, down, comes from Ni, which means the student has to first, before sitting down for an Upanishad, not here, you can do what you like, but actual Upanishadic session with a Rishi, first understand that he doesn't know, or she doesn't know. Because the moment I say I know, I cannot learn anything. How can I learn? So, for the time being set apart, say, I don't know, let me listen. Because you can't pour anything into a container that's already full. You know the famous Zen story of a professor who goes to a Zen monk and says, please teach me Zen. Teach me how to attain Satori. Now Satori is the word used in Zen for moksha or kaivalya. So the Zen master says, sit down, and he makes tea for him and brings a kettle of tea and pours the tea into the cup, and he pours and he pours and the cup becomes full and overflows. So after 2 minutes, the professor says, sir, your cup is overflowing. And the Zen master turns to him and says, your cup is overflowing. How can I give you Zen? It will also come down, flow out. So, That attitude of saying, let me understand, I don't know. What I know I set apart for the time being is the position of Ni. So when Upa, Ni and Shad are put together, they form the essence of the wisdom teachings of the Vedas, which is the Upanishad, which is Vedanta. It's called Vedanta because it is at the end of the Vedas. It is also called Vedantas because once the aim of what the Upanishad is trying to convey is reached, the essence, there is no need to learn anything else. It doesn't mean you shouldn't read newspapers or books or novels, but you have reached that which everybody is trying to reach. That brings us to happiness. That's what everybody is trying to reach. Who is there who doesn't want to find happiness? There are even people who enjoy grief because there is some happiness in that. Otherwise, how would you explain in the evening somebody sits with a peg of single malt or whatever they drink and then listen to K.L. Saigal, Jab Dil Toot. What are you enjoying? Enjoying pain. So enjoyment is an important factor. Everybody seeks it. There is nobody who doesn't seek happiness. And even when people are unhappy, they think, oh, this is a passing phase. Through this, I will reach happiness. When a person commits suicide, he thinks, out of this world, maybe I will be happy. Because the cessation of sorrow itself is happiness. May not be effervescent, active happiness, but the cessation of sorrow is the beginning of happiness. So, everybody seeks it. But the question is, do we find it? It's a Vedantic question, okay, not mine. Do we find it? We work all our lives, we make money, we have possessions, we have everything, but we keep collecting and gathering, which shows what? That we are not happy. Otherwise you can stop. Somewhere along the line from childhood, we are taught that to be happy, you need to gather. Okay, you need to gather your food and shelter, all that I can understand. But the word happiness has somehow been associated with adding more and more. And it is unending. And when it goes out of control, then what is cancer actually? Nobody has found a virus that causes cancer. It's simply that some of the cells have forgotten how to stop multiplying. This is cancer. Right? Yes or no? So, in the mind, which is not happy and at peace, and which is gathering all the time, it's a kind of cancer in a way. And unfortunately, in physical cancer, there is no medicine yet. You can handle it a little bit for some time till the patient rests in peace. Yeah, that we can do. Beyond that, there is no cure. Fortunately for this, there is. And that is Vedanta. You know, we are so unpeaceful or non-peaceful, I don't know what the word is, in our lives, that the only time when you die, they put up a plaque saying, rest in peace. Proves. Otherwise there is no peace. Rest in peace. My Guru Maheshwarnath Babaji used to say that this RIP, which is supposed to be rest in peace, actually means rise if possible. Nobody has accepted the challenge. So, are we waiting to find peace then? In the coffin? Or is there some way to find peace now? This is the question that the Upanishads ask, that Vedanta asks. And therefore, while we all are looking for happiness and avoiding pain, the fact is that it is endless and we go on and on and on trying to find it. and finally rest in peace. So, what was I saying? Yes. Can somebody help me? No, ma'am. Before that, rest in peace, I don't want to do right now. It's a workshop, sir. Please. Now, I said, let's examine this concept of us trying to find happiness. Sometimes I think if I have enough bank balance, I'll be happy. Is that true? I want people who have a big balance to say this. Sometimes I think if I have many children, I'll be happy. Is that true? Especially when partition comes and when wills are written. Somebody thinks if I live a life of poverty, far away from this world, I'll be happy. Is that true? No. You're sitting there but wondering now what? So, it's not the external circumstances. In fact, I know people who have lots of money, but what is the problem? Why are you looking so sad? You know, I meet hundreds of people every day. I don't have a child. Somebody is in grief because they have too many children and some that they have none. Please, I'm not painting a bleak picture of life. I'm just looking at facts. So, this happiness, it is quite legitimate to seek happiness. It's built in our system to seek happiness. Except, like the great weaver saint Kabir Das said, the search for this happiness is in the wrong direction. In fact, the Ishavasya Upanishad, one of the important Upanishads, says, one of the principal Upanishads, shortest perhaps, Gandhiji was very fond of it, says, Tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice. Now let go need not necessarily be give up. Let go and give up, there is a subtle shade of difference in the meaning. You may give up your car and still be worrying about, why did I give it up? Let go means it's finished. You may still have a car, but you're not worried about it. So let go and rejoice, as opposed to gather more and more and rejoice. But we find that gather more and more is more sorrow than happiness. So how do we go about this? So, when this is understood, Kabir Das said that while the search for happiness is legitimate and everybody searches for it, fine, no problem. But please remember that the direction in which we search for this happiness is in the wrong direction. And he gave the example, a beautiful story of what is known as the Kasturi Mriga. In the Himalayas, if perfume manufacturers haven't finished them off, there is a variety of deer, DEER deer. And most of these poor deers, DEERs, have been slaughtered for extracting musk, kasturi. If you smell musk in a perfume, avoid it because it's coming from this deer. So the musk deer, apparently, I haven't examined it, but Kabir says, it has a little pouch under its abdomen, and in a particular season, musk is produced, kasturi. And there's a beautiful fragrance in the air. And the poor deer, here I'm using DEAR, the poor deer, not knowing the source of the fragrance, he can feel the fragrance, it's beautiful. Not knowing that it's coming from under its belly button, keeps looking for it everywhere outside, poking its snout into thorns and bushes, bleeding, and still not knowing, all I have to do is turn it in and see it's here. So Kabir Das said, while the search for happiness is natural and built in, If you are searching in the wrong direction, in Vedantic terminology, it's called pravritti marga. If you turn in nivritti marga, if you will turn in, you'll find that the happiness that you're searching is inside you. And once it's touched, well, different ways it has been described. The theologians, those who are more oriented towards theistic philosophy have said, a spark of the supreme reality is in your hearts as the Antaryami. Turn within and see all the happiness that you seek. Those who don't want to speak about God have also said there is an undefinable something, which in the Buddhist terminology is called shunya. Now please don't think that shunya is nothing. It actually means no thing. And put a little bit of break in between. It's not a thing, and therefore it can't be described. So the Buddha said, shunya. Although in Hindi, shunya means zero. Zero is value, okay? Take one and keep adding the zeros. £1 billion. So, the Upanishad, Vedanta says, touch that, and you have touched the essence of happiness, and it's within. And it's not specially belonging to anybody. It belongs to all. It can't be that only I have it and you don't have it. If I have it, you should have it. Whether you know it or not, that's a different story. But you have it. So this is the subject matter of today's talk, which is happiness according to Vedanta. Before I stop and set the field free for a fight, I'm not a fight, I'm in a dialogue, let me say a few more things. There is a beautiful Upanishad called, as I said, Upanishads form the essence of the teachings of Vedanta. There are other texts also, but they are the original essence and very old, most ancient. There are a couple of Upanishadic references I would like to make for you to kind of touch on this matter. One is there is an Upanishad called the Chandogya. In the Chandogya Upanishad, a Rishi, a certain Rishi's son has gone to study about the truth from another Rishi. Which means what? The Rishi feels it's better he goes to that guy because my son may not really listen to me. So he sends him to somebody else, to another Rishi. So he comes back and the father asks him, who is himself a great Rishi, have you understood the truth? So the boy says, I think I have understood the truth. He says, if you think you have understood the truth, you have not understood it. Because either you know it or you don't know it. You can't think. In fact, it's beyond thought, so you can't think. So anyway, he doesn't say that, I'm saying this. So he says, okay, now I'm going to talk to you. You see those seeds out there on the ground? There's a banyan tree and there are some banyan seeds on the ground. Go pick it up. So he picks it up and brings it to him. Says, now peel the outer cover of the seed. So he peels it. What do you see? This is the Upanishadic teaching. Not, this is what is the truth, believe it. No. Or worship me all the time and I will lead you there. No. Bring the seed here. So he take off the peel. And what is there? What do you see? I see the kernel inside. Okay? Peel it. Now what do you see? Yes, I see small little seeds there like mustard. Okay? He says, take one of them and break it. He takes one of them tries hard and breaks it. What do you see? He says, I see nothing. And the father says, it is from this nothing that his entire banyan tree has come. And it's in all of us. You see, this essence. Okay, another Upanishad. There is an Upanishad called the Mundaka. You see, Mundaka actually means shaven head. Basically meant for the renunciants, but anybody can study it with benefit, I think. I'm not a monk myself. My wife is sitting here and I have 2 kids. Well, so also the Rishis who spoke about the Upanishads were not monks. In fact, some of them had 2 wives. I have only one. So, the Mundaka Upanishad, the disciple asks the teacher, how can you divide knowledge into different sections? And the teacher says, yeah, there are 2 kinds of knowledge. One is Paravidya, the highest knowledge, and the other is Aparavidya, the lower knowledge. So this is very interesting, please. This is from the Upanishad. You can refer it when you go back. So, the master, the disciple says, so can you give me a list of lower knowledge so that I can find out what is higher knowledge? So he said, yes. And here comes the list. Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana Veda, and so on. So the student is astonished. If all this is lower knowledge, so what is the higher knowledge? The master says, higher knowledge is that which leads you to the truth. Which means that doesn't mean you shouldn't read this. It means even after reading this, if it doesn't lead you to the truth, it still remains lower knowledge. That's what it means. The higher knowledge is that which takes one to the truth. And it is there in the Vedas and the Upanishads. And if it doesn't happen, then it's still lower knowledge. That's what it means. Not that you shouldn't be studying. Otherwise, what would I be doing studying the Upanishads or the Vedas? So, now the last 2 more examples. One is the Ishavasya Upanishad, about which I discussed a little bit. It's a beautiful Upanishad. It starts with the statement, Ishavashyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita ma gridha kasya svidhanam. To explain. Now I want to tell you this is very interesting. I was born as Mumtaz Ali Khan, and my guru was a great Nath yogi in the Himalayas. I studied it. I studied many things. He called me Madhukarnath. He gave me the name of Madhukarnath. And so I'm called M. Out of respect, people add Shri, but I love when you say M, because M means Manushya, human being. What I'm trying to say is that I have to explain Sanskrit. That's the fate that's overtaken the ancient Indian tradition. Anyway, so Isha Vashyam Idam Sarvam, that supreme reality pervades everything here. Which means there is not a single place where it does not exist. That becomes a problem, because if it is far away, then I can search for it. What happens if it is everywhere? How do I search for it? We'll come to that later. Suppose it is here and here and here, then how do I search for it? If it's there, I can understand. So, Isha Avashyamidam Sarvam, that supreme reality pervades everything here. Now the second sentence, very important. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat. It pervades everything that moves. You know the word jagat, which we use normally for the world, for the universe? It comes from the word jagatyam. That means that which moves. Which means there is not a single thing in this universe which is not moving. You might think this is dead matter. Ask a physicist. It's moving. You might think here there is no movement. Thousands of things are moving here in the air, particles. We don't see it, of course. And time, eternally moving. Can we stop it? And as far as the mind is concerned, I don't have to tell you, it's always moving. Not one moment when it is quiet. So, this Jagat is because it's Jagatyam, that which moves. Isha Vashyamidam Sarvam Yat Kincha Jagatyam Jagat. Then he says, therefore, how to get out of this movement so that you come to the I, the center, where there is absolute peace and tranquility. Tena tyaktena bhunjita, let go and rejoice. Let go of this movement and rejoice within. Why? Ma agrada kasya sudhanam. Whose wealth is this anyway? It belongs to all of us. It doesn't belong to one. This happiness we seek is everybody's. It's not one person's. So if this concept is looked at carefully, one begins to understand the concept of happiness in Vedanta and the Upanishad. And finally, one more Upanishad I would like to refer, because it's 11. What time are we supposed to stop? 12? 12:15. So I will give some time for a discussion. I'm sure many people have questions. I may not be able to answer all of them. If I don't know, then I will say I don't know, okay? Is that fair enough? Anyway. So, the last reference. There is a beautiful Upanishad which comes from the Sama Veda. You know, there are Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva, 4 Vedas. This Upanishad comes from the Sama Veda. It's very important because when Krishna talks about his glories in the Gita, saying among the sages, I am Kapila, among the mountains, I am Meru, among the immovables, Achala, I am the Himachal, and so on. When he comes to Vedas, he says, among the Vedas, I am the Sama Veda. Not Rig Veda, Sama Veda. Why Sama Veda? Most of the parts of the Sama Veda are similar to the Rig Veda. There's not much difference. Not much difference in the content, but they are set to music. The whole system of music we have in India comes from Sama Veda. The roots are in Sama Veda. So which means the truth that is being dealt with cannot be expressed by prose. It can only be expressed through poetry and song and music. You know, music has no language. Beethoven, Mozart, somebody playing the flute, even better if it's in Vrindavan. Where are the words? There's only the sound. And that is universal, everybody listens. Language doesn't come in to confuse you. Music, so this is Samaveda. So Samaveda has a couple of Upanishads, of which one important one is called the Keno Upanishad. Now this is very important to note. Keno in Sanskrit means who. So 2000 years before, there's already an identity crisis. Who am I? It's not new. Sometimes young people come and ask us questions and we say, oh, they're going through an identity crisis. This identity crisis has been before and the Upanishad is trying to answer it. Keno Upanishad, Who Upanishad. Can you imagine an Upanishad called WHO, Who, not World Health Organization. So, it goes like this, Kene shitam patati prashitam manaha, kena prana prathama prayati yuktaha, kene shitam vacham imam vedanti, chakshutshotram kaudeva yunati. Let's come down to one. It asks, who is it that gives the first impulse to thought? Who is it that hears when I say I hear? Who is it that sees when I say I see? When I talk, who is it that finds meaning in words? And that is supposed to be the essence of my identity, true identity. And it is reached perhaps when all differences have ceased, when there are no opposites, when there is absolute calm and quiet and tranquility, and which is why some kind of practical sadhana is necessary to even understand these concepts. It's not enough if you know the concepts, which is where yoga comes into the picture. When I say yoga, I know immediately one would think of Ashtanga yoga in Hollywood. In fact, in Wisconsin, I asked a yoga group, they said they are doing Ashtanga yoga. I said, good. So I said, do you know who's the founder of Ashtanga yoga? They said, B.K. Iyengar. I was wondering about Patanjali, what happened to him. So anyway, it doesn't matter. So yoga is defined in the Yoga Sutras as yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is that which calms the movement and distractions of the mind. And without calming the distractions of the mind and the mind becoming quiet and tranquil, it's not possible to understand what the Upanishad means when it says it's the essence of being and it is there in complete calmness and tranquility. When the mind is not reaching out here or there, but has begun to rest. As I said earlier, if the truth is there and I need to travel there, then I need to stretch. What happens when it is everywhere? Stop all stretching and let go. And yoga prepares one to go into this, which is why I'm going to stop. Please don't think it's a monologue. The Bhagavad Gita is actually a simple way of putting the Upanishadic truths together in very simple, understandable language. There are 18 chapters. And at the end of each chapter, it says, Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita, so this is the Upanishad. Brahma Vidyayam, it is the knowledge of the Supreme Reality. Yoga Shastre, it is that knowledge of the practice which takes you there, and so on. Sri Krishna Arjuna, Samvade, dialogue between, and that's not important. This, which means all this is important. Brahma Vidya, theoretical. Yoga as a practice. Please don't, as I said, don't think yoga is just one kind of thing. It's a very wide term. So, this is what I thought I would convey to you on happiness and the definition of happiness according to Vedanta. And I think it's not only according to Vedanta, if you've been listening now carefully, it's according to all of us. It's quite normal and intelligent to think so. So we have half an hour more. Thank you very much for listening with great attention to what I'm saying, what I was saying. And if you have any questions around this matter, practical questions we can deal with in the evening session, but there has got to be some practical, of course, not just theory. But if theory is properly understood, then the practical can be good. So if you have any questions, please raise up your hands, and one by one we'll try and deal with them. Thank you very much. Thank you. I thought he was going to ask me.
Can I ask?
Sir.
First, greetings from Padmajayanu 6.
I know.
Okay. question that I want to ask is about eating meat. Okay, because it's so confusing because we have teeth which are designed to eat both. And if you can enlighten us on this.
Okay. Coming down from the heights of Upanishad to eating meat is quite a jump. Okay. Anyway, it's a practical question. I can understand. Maybe you love meat or you don't.
To be honest, sir, you know who I am.
I know. I'm not sure. Kene Shitam, who are you? Okay, I know you. Okay. So, what he asked, of course, is also an important question. Should we eat meat or should not we eat meat? I have to tell you this. I think I'm going to quote Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda said, don't make your religion a religion of the kitchen. I eat this, I don't eat this, I touch this, I don't touch this. He said, moderation in all forms is the most important way of yogi life. However, having said this, I must add that if you feel strongly in your mind that you can live with sufficient nutrition without causing injury to a living being, then I think you should practice it. This is what I would say. Because mostly it's a question of taste. And a human being should be able to control his taste, at least to some extent. If you can't, the tongue is a very powerful instrument in two ways. One is, taste seems to be one of the most powerful attractions. So when somebody is accustomed to a particular taste, when the mind moves towards it, one. The other is, the tongue is capable of saying good things, is also capable of saying terrible things. It can destroy and it can create. So this tongue is a good thing to control. So my suggestion is, give it some control. And if it is a question of taste, vegetable biryani would taste the same as mutton. It is the masala. Who would eat this meat when there is no masala? Nobody. So understand this fact that if I can live without causing injury to other living beings, I should try and do it. But, condition, don't step on the other fellow's toes. Don't say, because I'm a saint, that guy should also become a saint. It's not possible. So don't discriminate among people because this fellow is eating this. You take care of yourself first. Then the others will take care of themselves. Okay, having said this, I must say that I want to tell you about somebody who was a pure vegetarian, who didn't even eat eggs, and who sent thousands of Jews into the gas chamber. Hitler. He refused to shake hands with the king of Saudi Arabia, saying, I don't want to shake hands with meat-eating barbarians. He was a pure vegetarian. So, if you ask me, could he have a bad mind because he was a vegetarian? Here is an example. I can understand it is an exception. I can understand that. But my answer, what I am trying to tell you is, on no account should one be fanatic in one's thoughts. There must be some leeway always, that one is moderate and things along those lines. If the moment you feel strongly in your mind that I can live without causing injury to other living beings, don't tell me that, vegetables are also living and all that, please. Vegetables, they are, of course, but they don't have a developed nervous system to register pain as animals have. And when you pluck an apple from a tree, you don't destroy the tree. An animal is a unit, it's gone. So, I want to tell you that I leave it to you to decide on this matter. I don't want to impose. Thank you. I can't hear you, doctor. Yes.
It means spiritual progress. To develop skill with self-love. What is self-love?
Well, what is self-love? I think there are two ways of looking at this. One is to love your inner self, because your inner self is a spark of the Supreme Being. That's one thing. I think what normally is referred to is that don't keep blaming yourself for everything. Don't bring yourself down to the level of, I hate my own self. So try to appreciate your own self, meaning, when people say self-realization, it's a loaded word, very loaded word. When you say self-realization, I think basically first it means to know myself as I am, not condemning it, but also not justifying it. Can I know myself as I am now? Not, I am the Brahman, I am the Supreme. You don't know, it's theory, right? I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, it's theory at the moment. So to say, let me understand myself as I am right now. I don't want to say I am that Brahman. I am. If you are the Brahman, you can stand before a speeding train, which you can't. So, to find out where I stand, so how do I do that? I can do that only in communication with the world. I know where I stand. That is the first step to know yourself. Where do I stand? Please don't judge yourself. And also don't justify anything. You see yourself clearly. I think clearly seeing oneself is the first step of self-realization. Not impose an idea and say, I am the Brahman. I know this is a different way of looking at it. You may be shocked, but this is true. Look at yourself as you are, and how do you do that? My Guru, Maheshwarnath, told me that if you meditate for 12 hours every day in a cave all by yourself for 12 years and say that now I am free of anger, I am free of jealousy, I am free of all the usual vices that we say. How do you know? He said, will you be jealous of the cave, walls of the cave? Are you angry with the cave? There's nobody there. Are you... Don't know. It's only when you come out of the cave, get into a bus, and somebody gives you a kick, by mistake, not deliberately, especially if it's a stiletto heel. And then you know where you stand, right? So how do we find out about ourselves? Only in communion with the world. I am not denying the fact that in the spiritual practice, periods of solitude are essential. I agree with this. But the problem of where I stand can be found out only when I interact with the world. So I think what people say, what you're talking about, is that give some respect to yourself. Don't degrade it. Because ultimately, in your true essence, yourself is a spark of the divine. In your true essence. Which is probably what a great yogi who wandered in Jerusalem many hundreds of years ago said, lay treasures in your heart where thieves do not break in and steal. So if you're a treasury of precious things, don't degrade yourself. Respect yourself. But also respect the other guys. Sir.
Actually, if I can post a couple of minutes, nothing short of a miracle that I brought here. actually yesterday I finished reading your autobiography. And I had no idea you were.
Do I look normal, sir?
Yes, very normal. Last night I went sleeping. I had no idea you were a nun. I went sleeping thinking, I'm going to India next.
What's your name?
My name is Venkat.
You live here?
I live in India. I went to sleep thinking it would be fantastic if I can meet CM last night. I prayed to God. I said, but the next time I'm in India, I should meet him. And I reached the last page of your autobiography and there was a link saying, if you want to meet me, please click on this link. So I clicked on the link and it said, CM is in the UK. And it was fantastic. And I said,
So now you have let the secret out of the bag. I have an email. How many people are we going to? No?
no, at the website.
Ah, okay.
So I went to the website and I saw that. And I said, okay, it was a Nehru Center, Audley Street. I walk in Cook Street, it's like 5 minutes away. So thank God. I really have to thank God for this. It's a fantastic opportunity. So, moving away from our first question to the topic at hand. You had mentioned that all of us are in this idea of the pursuit of happiness.
The pursuit.
The pursuit of happiness. And that we seek to achieve that happiness by collecting objects and things in the world. Whereas happiness itself is belongs to ourselves. It is our fundamental nature. So the question, and then he also said that that's moral
Absolutely. So that it's over.
So the question is, how do I train myself to stop that pursuit and realize who I am?
You know, the very need, the compulsion with which there is an inner push towards the direction of happiness is a proof that the inner being wants you to find true happiness. But we in our limited thinking conclude that it can be found in this or it can be found in that. And there are any number of guidances and hints to say, for thousands of years, man just turned inside. It's not that there isn't. While there are attractions in the world, there is also this on the other side. But we tend to go the easy way and not look into something which may be a little tough. But when we want to make money or do something, we don't mind how tough it is, right? So, if the intention is as strong as that, then one day or the other you will turn in and come to the essence. That's one thing. The other is, from the point of view of somebody who has actually found the essence inside. Suppose theoretically somebody has found it. Once it is found, then it is discovered that what you found inside is also everywhere. Not before that, you cannot experience it. It's probably because it is everywhere that we are attracted to many things. You see, you get the drift of what I am trying to say? It's probably that. But then when you see this inside, you realize, oh, this is what it is that I was looking for. And that's what. So therefore, some great sages have reached there and see that everywhere. Have you seen any picture of Ramana Maharshi with his eyes closed? Tell me if you found it. Because for him, the outside and the inside, there's no difference. He might have closed his eyes when you were searching, but not afterwards. It's the same. Now on this subject, I need to also tell you something interesting. It's not seeing and enjoying something in the outside world that creates the problem. The problem is when I want it for myself. There are beautiful flowers in the garden. They look beautiful. The problem starts when I want to pluck it and put it in my pocket. You walk on the street, there are many beautiful creatures on the street. If you're a man, there are women. If you're a woman, there are men. There is no problem. Problem is when I want this. That's where the problem starts. So if you can keep clear of that and say, what I really seek is this, then you can live in this. Look at me. I don't have a robe. I don't have a weird hairstyle, do I? I just forgot to go to the barber, so it's a little long. I'm like you. I wear pants, I'm wearing a shirt. So, what I'm trying to say, not that you should be like me. If you want to wear saffron robes, it's okay. That's a different matter. What I'm trying to say is that you can live in this world and still anchor yourself in the spirit. It's not that it is impossible. One of the reasons why Babaji asked me to go out and live normal, or at least pretend to live like normal, is, he said, otherwise people say, you can do it. What about us? Here there are people from the great religion of Sikhism sitting here, from the Sikh Dharma. The whole teachings of the Guru, from Guru Nanak down, is be normal. Do your thing, do your work, earn your living. But look at him. This is possible. And in this century, coming century, in future, this is what we need. We need jean-clad yogis. You don't have to wear jeans, of course. I mean, it's a metaphor. You need people who are in daily life, but who are turning their minds to the essence. Then other people will understand this, and there will be a movement towards the spirit. So,
I have a question.
and I'm glad you met me.
Very similar to what Mr. Raman probably said. I have also read your autobiography, and it is an honor to see you in person here. My question is that people have traveled far for the search of the truth. You yourself has traveled.
Say that again.
I'm sorry?
Yes. Say that again.
People have traveled far for the search of the truth. Yourself has traveled to the Himalayas, and other yogis have read the autobiography, they have traveled. So how can we find or search the truth here in UK, where, because most of the books mention about the Indian mystic and the places. So how can we bring that here and search for the truth?
Sir, I have to say this, that you're living in UK doesn't mean that there aren't lovely places here where you can go and have a retreat, like a solitary retreat. It's not that it's not there. Well, I went to the Himalayas, I went to Babaji, that's all fine, but that each person's life goes in a different manner. And you didn't go to the Himalayas, but here I am standing before you from there. Is it? So, any place that you live in can be turned into heaven or hell. It's left to you. So I'm suggesting that have some periods of solitude in your busy life. Yeah, I know your life is busy, you have to work. Take out some time. If you can come to India, good. But if you can't come to India, at least there are lovely places. I have been traveling in the West, not so much in England, but in the United States and Europe and other places. And I have seen that there are lovely places where you can actually go and spend some time quietly, so that you can study, you can reflect, and then you can come back and translate your experiences into your daily activities. This is possible. And the case is even more strong because I think people like you and me should be here, not UK, I mean on this earth, working and doing their daily duties and anchoring one's mind to the spirit. I'm here basically for that. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in this circus myself. Thank you. Anji. Yes.
Namaste, Guruji.
Elders first.
Thank you for sharing what you have shared with us. One of the things I'm not very clear about is that you have said something about enjoyment and something about happiness. Is there a difference between the two?
There is a difference. Enjoyment and happiness are not the same, but we enjoy when we think that it is leading us to happiness. That's the difference. Sometimes happiness can be quite neutral. It need not. You understand? You're right. That's right. I've answered it. I've tried to answer it. Young man.
Namaste Guruji. My humble pranams to you. My name is Gautam Natrak.
Awesome.
Yes. So I want to know how I can channelize my energy in the right, the right direction, because personally I get distracted sometimes, quite often. So I want to learn how to get that willpower so that I do not get distracted and try to channelize my energy in my sadhana. So,
Can we elaborate upon this a bit? What do you mean that sometimes you're distracted?
well, there are so many things.
I also get distracted sometimes, so I'm asking.
There are so many things around me which I have a compulsive thing towards it, but I know it's wrong, but it's a compulsive thing, so I cannot really try to get that in the right direction. So I need some.
So the thing is that if you try to pull your mind away from something by force, your mind is so strong that it might pull you back there. So my suggestion is, divert your mind into something which is linked to your spiritual practice, but may not strictly be religious or spiritual, like music. I'm not talking about the music where you go white, talking about, beautiful music, like listening to the flute or the veena, or trying to learn some music. Take up learning of some music, so that your mind is now engaged in an activity which may not be purely spiritual at the moment, but it will take you away from the distractions of the ordinary things. That is a good thing to do. This is what happens in mantra japa, for instance. Your mind is fixed on chanting something, or singing something, or in kirtan, or bhajan, or something like that, so that it's not unnecessarily caught up. You're also enjoying it. When I'm not from the ISKCON, but just giving you an example, when Prabhupada first came to England in Hyde Park, he used to do his kirtan and dance himself. There was nobody there. It was a time of the flower people. Many young people would come and say, "Can we dance with you?" He said, "Absolutely free, come." But the greatest attraction, that he was a good cook. So after the dance and the kirtan, they got lovely food to eat. Everybody came. What I'm trying to say is that do something by which you are enjoying yourself and not being distracted by this practice. You understand what I mean? How many minutes more? 12 o'clock? Okay. Sorry.
You mentioned that if there is sincere enough devotion, the Guru will find you.
What he said, I don't know if you heard it there. He said that in one of my videos, which means you've been watching my videos. Dangerous. Then in one of my videos I said that if you're really sincere, you don't have to search for a guru, the guru will find you. I did say it must be in some context, okay? Which doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep your mind open and looking for a spiritual teacher. Maybe there is somebody. All I'm trying to say is that don't get caught in the stereotype imagination that a teacher has to be like this or like this. A teacher could be anything, anywhere. So, one thing to watch out. Yeah, you're right. Where do you live? I've come. I'm joking. Anyway, so I've reached London, you see. Like that. I may not be a guru, I don't know, but that you have to figure out. I shouldn't say your mind is, you have to. Anyway, so are there any criteria by which you can say, well, this is a spiritual person, I take this person as my teacher? I think a couple of points would be useful in this matter, because you are young. I don't want you to be misled. You know? One is, when you go to a spiritual teacher, don't be overawed and overwhelmed by the ropes and things like that. Watch for some time and don't be in a hurry. And especially don't accept somebody because he's good looking or he has a long nose and things like that. Okay? Give it time. These are important matters, serious matters. You can't fall into something, you won't be able to come out. So give it some time. In fact, I would say that no teacher is better than the wrong teacher. Important to note. And live and watch the teacher for some time, person who you want to become your teacher, and see, does he or she want really to give you something, or does he or she want your bank balance? That do they want something from you, or do they want to give you something? Watch for a while, and also watch under our circumstances, because it's very easy to stand for 1 hour on the stage and smile and say, I'm okay. How do I behave outside? I don't know. You don't know. Try to find opportunities where you can see the person in action. See if he's suddenly flying into a rage with his driver. You understand? So these are some of the things you have to watch carefully. However, there is no standard way by which you can recognize a spiritual teacher from external appearances. I'm going to give you a little Sufi story. It's dangerous to give a Sufi story because nowadays many people say we are Sufis. But the Sufi never says he's a Sufi, anyway, it doesn't matter. So, this is a little story about a rich man who, when he was very young, had this aspiration to become spiritual. There was a little flame inside him, spiritual flame burning, but he was born very poor. So he wanted to become rich. So there was also that desire on one side. So the desire to become rich and big overtook this little flame of spiritual aspirations. So he worked hard and he became very rich. This is a Sufi story, so the scene is Middle East somewhere. So in the Middle East, when you say you're rich, which means you have many caravans, you become a big merchant and so on. At the age of 55, he figured out that this is not giving me happiness. He thought that by being rich, he could be happy. He said, all that money can buy, I have now the power to do. But I can't buy happiness, it's not working. So now what to do? So he decided wisely to give up all his caravans, distribute it among his his sons and daughters. I don't know whether daughters figured in those days, but and then he kept a little money for himself so that he could build a little cottage, what we would call a kutir, a little cottage in the oasis where there's water, and take all his books, which his interest in the spirit was always there, so he was reading many spiritual books. So he said, I'll take all these books and then I'll read now, spend all my time meditating. The problem was that he needs to eat. And having been a rich man for many years, he had forgotten even how to make a cup of coffee. Here it doesn't happen, but in India and the US it happens. Many often there are many servants working for him. So then he went to the village and he found a cook. He needed that. So he went with his books and his cook to this little cottage in the oasis and spent 7 years studying. At the end of 7 years, he realized that this which I am seeking can't be found without a teacher. So somebody who has already walked the path is required. They are not going to fall into a ditch. So he went out and started searching for a guru. Well, in Middle Eastern terms, he was searching for a murshid or a sheikh. So he went searching, not satisfied. There were some people in the desert, staying in caves, not happy. And one day he saw a man looking very, very impressive with a long beard and green turban and rosaries around his neck. He said to him, "Sir, I think you're a great religious teacher. Please make me your disciple." This time when I went to the United States, a young lady wearing white came to me and said, "Can you make me your disciple?" I was startled, I didn't know what to say. Anyway, so he said, "Can you make me your disciple?" The man said, "You seem to be a sincere guy, I would like to help you. Problem is, I can't help you without taking permission from my master." So he said, "Please take permission from your master, because I'm very serious." He said, "That's the problem. The crux of the problem is that my master has disappeared 7 years ago. I can't find him. If I find him, then I will ask him and take you on." So he said, "Sir, but where is he?" He said, "I'm looking for him." He said, "Can you give me a description so that I can also help you?" He said, "Yeah, I can describe him. He's a short man, wears very simple white garments, has a towel always on his right shoulder, and he's a good cook." I said, "My God, this appears to be the description of my cook who is in the cottage. This can't be. So can you please come home and check? I want you to come." He said, "Okay." So they walked in, and the kitchen door opened, and the cook came out with a towel on his right shoulder, and this great man prostrated before him and said, "Oh, master, where have you disappeared for 7 years?" He said, "I was with this guy for 7 years." He said, "He's still looking for a teacher." He said, "Yeah, it took me 7 years to make him realize that he needs a teacher, but now you take care of him. I have other work to do." So what I'm trying to say, when the teacher comes in different forms. Can't say. Don't have a stereotype. Then you're saved.
So, can we take initiation from two teachers, sir?
Say that again.
If one wants to has already taken initiation from a guru, and a very genuine guru, and is doing sadhana, and if one wants to take initiation from another,
I think if you seriously think that it is a genuine guru, you should ask him whether I should take from somebody else. If you think it's genuine, then please ask this person, can I look for somebody else? And I think there should not be a problem normally, because you might learn one thing from one person and another thing from another person, as long as it doesn't confuse you. It all contribute. In fact, there have been great spiritual teachers who have told their disciples, "Okay, now the time is up, go to somebody else." Watch out if the guru is so possessive of you that he doesn't want you to go anywhere. Then it's time to shift. Because the gurus are not in the business of gathering disciples. Thank you.
sir, can I sir, I've taken Diksha from Sant Shri Asaramji Babu, and I love him dearly, sir. I do truly, deeply feel that he is a true man of God.
It's okay, then carry on with it. That's all I can say.
So I felt that I could take Kriya Yoga from you, but only with your permission. That's why I'm asking.
My pronounced to you greetings for coming to Ukraine. As the gentleman over there said,
I didn't hear.
so my greetings
With the mic coming, so can you
for
wait
coming
for
to
the mic?
UK. Pronounced to MG, and I've read your book as well a couple of years ago, and I've followed you on YouTube, all your lectures in USA, and I was hoping one day you'd come here. And I was so delighted when I saw that you were coming to UK, so I made sure that I'm present here. My question is that I'm actually same age as you are, which was very much like another attraction. We were born in the same year, and I've got lots of friends born in that year, and we somehow connect so well. And I've been seeking all these years, and I find that there is an inner need for people that feel somehow incomplete with everything which is around us and everything.
Right.
But in the end, sometimes I also feel just let go of the seeking as well, because that can also, this pursuit of seeking the truth, also making you unhappy, because when you don't get there, then you think, can my life be just fulfilled by just what I'm doing, making sure that I do all the right things, be aware of what I'm doing, helping other people, in service, I do a lot of volunteer work. So can we let go of seeking? Is that, or do we need to have that?
I think if you're doing, I think that if you're doing a lot of service to other people and leading your life without causing injury to others, this is a prerequisite for any kind of spiritual practice, actually. So if you're doing this already, then at some point it would occur to you, if it occurs to you, fine, this is all fine, but I need to have some personal experience in this matter. Then you should start the search. Otherwise you're okay. Stay with it. If you're happy.
I have this great need to seek that truth. But because I haven't found it, supposing that's making me unhappy.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
So I do feel the need to seek the truth, and I want to also feel that fulfillment of finding that was missing. But sometimes that makes me unhappy, so do I carry on and do I still persevere?
Carry on, but don't put a stop to this feeling of wanting to find the truth when it comes in you. Don't think I'm okay now, let it be. A little bit of restlessness and churning is very good actually. All big changes come from a churning. So one should lull one's mind to not look for it. On the other hand, what you're doing, if you're doing what you said, is a very good start and a very good background to your spiritual search. And if you need to discuss anything personal, please mail me, because I'm not here, I'm going off in a couple of days. So please be free to email me so that I can respond to you in some way, because it's a personal question.
Thank you.
Just an experience that I had some years ago at the Siddhi Vinayak temple in Mumbai. When I entered the temple, I touched a tree, and I started to cry. And I could not understand what the reason was. To date, nobody has been able to answer the reason why 10 o'clock in the morning I had tears in my eyes. Now, the second part of the question is that when you have your Aradhya, that you follow either Krishna or whoever, Shiv, can you change, like when we say about gurus, you can change the gurus, but can you change who you follow?
Sir, if you love your wife, would you want to change her?
I don't think so.
Stay.
So, but the question about why these things happen at
I don't know, you might have been in some kind of an emotional feeling. I can't really pinpoint and explain this to you. I'm sorry for it. Yeah. Because it happened. No. It's your personal affair, something happened to you. But at least you realize that there's something else other than, just being and doing what you're doing. Sometimes one cries when a kind of feeling wells up in one that oh my God, what am I doing? Also, it must be something I can't tell you right now. Maybe I was with you, I could have figured out something.
You were.
So, thank you very much, sir. I think, yeah. You want to wind up? No, okay. So, I'm winding up what we have unrolled. Okay? And if you still have some questions, and we're going to have something in the evening, it would be more practical on how to be in this world and lead a life of inner spiritual search, how to relate it to this world, how can we move forward. This would be the thing. Thank you very much for all this. I hope I gave something. And if you got it, please look into it carefully. But things don't happen in one day's lecture or a talk. Think about it carefully. The most important thing is to manana. What we heard is the talk, and the next is manana, which means to think about it, take it into your mind and let it move forward. Thank you. Namaskar.